I see some familiar faces. Hello, Bryce. Hello to a lot of people. Doug, Teddy, Alexis, I see joining us shortly, and people are filing into our live show. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. This is episode 581. I am your host, Steve V. Alongside on this Wednesday night, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm getting my camera ready, darling. I'm ready to get into these topics. How are you,
Get in.
boo?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you like kind of like cutting your head off there, or
Oh,
is it good?
I'll put it back up then. I wanted to show my tits. That's all I ever want to do.
Okay, well, I'm sure the audience would be happy if you took your shirt off. So, feel free to. I
Is it
won't
that
stop
kind of
you.
party tonight? I don't
Hey,
know.
hey, do what you want. I love it. I am a little hot here. Okay, good. Well, we were off a week, if you didn't notice, and we are back. We were off last week because of 4th of July, and we are back. It's nice to take a little bit of a break because then you come back renewed, refreshed, and all that good stuff. I just wanted to shout out to a show that I saw last night that I took my sister to for her birthday. She's a huge fan of the book. I'm talking about Best Tony Musical 2024, The Outsiders. Such
Ooh.
a good, amazing. I now know why it won Best Musical. It is that good. For those of you coming and making your way over to New York, I know a lot of you love to see theater. And we have, of course, some of the best. And The Outsiders won Best Musical. And it is so good, Kodi. I
I
mean,
believe it.
from the inspired choreography that is, some of them were like gymnastics, and it's just like that, to the stage that has gravel, that's really reminiscent of the book, that is all set in 1967. And it is two groups. If you didn't read the book, I read it as a kid. It's two groups of pitted groups against each other, and the greasers and the Soch are the two that are pitted. One's a little bit more highbrow and have a little bit seemingly more money, and the greasers are the ones that we're talking about here.
The
And it's
Outsiders.
the original book was so good, and so was the movie back in the day. I mean, did you see the movie, Kodi?
I've only seen clips of it because Rob Lowe is in it, and he's my crush from the '80s. So I've seen clips.
Patrick
I haven't seen the
Swayze
entire thing.
was in it. Ralph Macchio was in it. Uh, Rob Lowe, yes. All of them were in a Pony Boy. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, says Bryce, watching it. It is so good. And they bring in a little bit more of a multicultural cast to this
Oh, good.
because it, it didn't feature that originally in the book and all that, but it so works with this. The singing is amazing. Obviously, the book and the movie didn't have original music at all
Yeah,
because it's not a musical. The original music is so good and
I got to see it.
reflective of propelling the story along, and it is emotional. It is what they do on stage, from pyrotechnics at one point to the screens to it rains on stage and a downpour where they're all soaking wet fighting at one point, and you really feel like you're
Ooh,
watching like something on a film right in front of you happening, and it's like so captivating. It's that good, you guys. You've got
love
to
it.
see The Outsiders.
Let's
Tony
get
Award
soaking wet.
winning.
I love it.
Let's get soaking wet. I'm talking. Let's go. So good. Highly recommend. Okay, well, this week, since we've been back, so many top stories. The top story earlier in the week on episode 580 was Austin Wolf, and well, that was a doozy. This one's maybe not quite at that par, but still pretty juicy, when hundreds of gay men were evicted from a Dallas hotel after a sorority complained about their attire. Did you guys all hear about this? It was the Daddyland event that happens apparently every year it's a circuit party, and think more in terms of, well, Daddyland, so daddies, but
Here we go.
BDSM.
Sounds
Yep.
like someplace I want to be.
Yeah, exactly. BDSM, leather. It's a weekend of events. Many of the events were going to be happening at the host hotel that they then canceled those events, but there was events going to be carried out at others that still went on. And a lot of these guys received eviction notices. Imagine staying at a hotel for an event and getting an eviction notice that you must be out by 6 p.m. I mean, crazy, but it was the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority members who apparently, allegedly, were also in town sharing this hotel for their biennial national convention, according to the hotel owner. And a little bit trivia on that is Kamala Harris, our vice president, will be actually speaking to this sorority, I think soon too. I'm not sure if she's was in a sorority, and it might have been this one, and that's probably why she's going to be speaking to them. But that's just a little extra sidebar. But security officers and hotel management delivered the eviction notices around 4 p.m. on Saturday, with occupants of 88 rooms were asked to leave, and the owner said, though a Daddyland rep said the number was closer to 300. And however, the hotel has only 292 rooms. So, you figure this stuff out. But essentially, Kodi, they were saying that they've done this in the past. This is a little hot for me. They were saying that they did this in the past before, and that they had no problems last year hosting this event, that it went off fine. So they did it again. I have a lot to say about this in a second, and then we'll discuss. This year, I guess they had partial hotel occupancy, and some of the other part was a sorority. That's another issue that I think we should talk about for future planning. But some of the allegations were that there were sex happening in certain areas, or things like Trimix, which is the thing that you use to inject your dick, that the needles were found in certain areas that was maybe going to be associated with, fun playroom area. Other things were jock straps worn in communal areas that everybody was associated with. And maybe somebody said that they, and this is all alleged, that they were in the elevator with some of the sororities and they flashed their dick in the elevator. So these are allegations, and nobody even knows if any of this is true. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
But when you first hear this, I mean, I have been to weekends like this that are of this nature, and I'm talking about MAL, Mid-Atlantic Leather, in DC, that happens Martin Luther King Jr. weekend every year, and they buy out the whole host hotel. So there's never any issues with this, because I've gone into the lobby bar where in a jockstrap, because everybody else is. And the funny thing is, when you enter the hotel, the first thing you are met with is an escalator as you descend down into the lobby floor. But it's almost like a really good entrance to make, because you're descending down and everybody that's in the lobby bar is looking up at you come down. So you want to kind of be in a jockstrap in that situation. But they buy out the whole hotel. IML, International Mr. Leather, that happens every Memorial Day weekend in Chicago, also does a huge buyout for the hotel, and there's never any issues. And I know you've been to places like this too. Do you think that the first problem was that the organizers of Daddyland didn't buy out the whole thing? Or do you think what some are suggesting as homophobia was at play towards our community for evicting them at the 11th hour?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, actually, because I do agree with you. When this type of party goes down, I think that we have to have the entire hotel, because we do get a little bit wild. And I have to admit that we do get a little bit wild. And partially, I feel like this could be placed on our shoulders. But I want to say I watched a lot of videos from the people that actually attended Daddyland, and the things that they were saying about how initially they were getting along with the AKAs, and that there was an entire party that was happening in the pool area that was heterosexual in nature, and how the girls didn't have any clothes on, about how uh, guys were having their pants down below their underwear. All of these things happened and transpired, and they weren't kicked out. It's really wild to me that 88 out of 252 rooms in the hotel were evicted. Because why didn't someone that worked at the hotel, why didn't they recognize who the people that were actually breaking the rules were? Why didn't they give them a warning? Where were the warnings? Where were the actually addressing it with the people that were breaking the rules? When did that happen? And how did almost 300 people get kicked out of a hotel? That's just ludicrous to me. So homophobia definitely played a part in this, because if it was just about being fair and about evicting the people that were causing the ruckus, then those people would have been evicted, and not every single person that was gay in the hotel.
I sort of agree with you that that's awful to commit to an event and commit to people coming to, and maybe there were a few instances that were a little bit out of line. I think we all know, like you said at the top of your opinion, that essentially when you throw these things, that we are kind of a crazy community, Kodi,
Yeah.
and that I think that, like, I've been to a lot of these events before, IML, MAL, and a lot of it's sex progressive. Let's just call it what it is. And it's going to happen. And I'm all for that. I just think the problem is they should have either, if you couldn't afford to buy out the whole hotel, then find a smaller hotel. Because to mix what these kinds of situations are, that, and I don't think I would feel comfortable when I've gone to MAL, IML. I am completely comfortable in the lobby, in the elevator, in my jockstrap, in my leather harness, because I'm only around. They have a leather mart in the basement, and I know I'm with my people. This is an endorsed event. Staff are really cool, making cocktails all around the entire hotel, and it is an endorsed event. I'm very comfortable when I'm on the naked beach, when I know it is a legal allocated place for this. There's certain bars that are cruise bars that I know I'm very comfortable in that. I would not be comfortable being in my jockstrap leather harness when there's potentially a family over there, or a
Or Kamala Harris.
sorority. Right, or Kamala Harris, or a sorority. I just wouldn't be. It would be not. I would be not comfortable with that. And I just think this was poor planning. And while it may have worked one year, this should have. It should send a signal that, either if you can't fill up the hotel, if you can't do a whole buyout, then pick a different hotel that's smaller. Because
Yep.
for the sake of the safety of your audience, why put them in situations where, look what happened? I
Yeah.
mean,
They were left out in
especially
the
in
cold.
America. And by the way, I'm talking about Chicago and DC, a little bit more liberal than Texas. And
Ugh.
I'm,
And
yeah,
then
so we're
add
already
Dallas on top
starting
of it.
with Dallas. And I just think poor planning. And I think they owe their people that an apology.
More than apology, they owe them money, because we have to recognize, Steve, that these people were left out in the cold. They had no place to go. I'm sure that a lot of them were from other places, and they had no rooms. They didn't have anywhere to go. They had to sleep in their car. They had to drive home. What if they have flights? There's so many components that go into this, that they should
Yeah,
receive monetary compensation for this, because it's a huge hassle, and it should never happen.
agreed. Yeah, James watching us live. Hi, James, says, you're right, Steve. Was this their first year? It's a fault on both parties to not have this set up. Agreed. Yeah. So we'll continue to follow this if there's more to follow. But my God, juicy. And
You'll see.
yeah, I know. And people spend a lot of money for these events, and I heard that they
On
were
jock straps
obviously,
alone.
yeah, scrambling to pack, to get out of there, to find a new place to stay, to salvage what was left of the weekend. Okay, well, our next bit is gay news that is making the waves right now. Hot topics. We won't spend too much time on them, but we just want to go through all these things that happened with recently, including starting off with Elton John. Maybe you heard about this. He was shopping with his two kids the other day. I believe they're twins. Are they twins? I think they're
I believe
twins.
so. Yeah.
And they were in France and at a high-end shoe store, Sugar Kicks in Nice. And Elton apparently was shopping, and his two sons and had to pee, like we all have at some point, right? And he asked the owner if he could use the restroom, and they said no, or they didn't have one. It was one of the two. And so he called his security team that were outside to bring in a bottle so that he could piss in it. And I just think this is celebrities behaving badly
Oh.
because, oh, 100%. I think I mean,
Okay.
because I have peed on the side of the road before, but when nobody could see. I go hiking a lot, and it's known that you just kind of go into the woods and no one is there, and you're one with nature. I am not in a posh high-end store or any store, a CVS, and pulling out my dick and peeing in a cup. I mean, you just don't do that. And I also think it's a little bit disrespectful. Just because you can, why would you? I mean, it's a little gross too. Why, if he really wanted to, why didn't he just go into the SUV? Taxi cab drivers do it all the time. They pee in cups. I was walking literally the other day, and I'm like, oh, that's how they do it. I walked by a taxi cab driver here in New York City, was literally pouring something out. And I'm like, what is he pouring out? Is that Gatorade? Oh, no, that was his piss, because he's probably been working for hours and hours and hours. And he has a bottle that he was peeing into, and he was pouring that out into the gutter. I get it. He could have easily gotten into his SUV and peed in that, not in the middle of the store. And now we're talking about this, and it's embarrassing, I think. What do you think?
Well, look, when it's Elton John in the store, I feel like the store should have made accommodations because, he is a celebrity.
Okay, so let me stop you there. Mm-hmm. The young owner did not know who he was.
Oh my goodness.
He said, what do you do? And he says, I'm Elton John, is what he said. And the guy was still kind of like,
that's cringy.
I don't know what that means. He was a young lad, if you will, and had no clue who he was. So go on.
It is celebrities behaving badly. I agree with you. I would not.
If we tried to do that,
we would have been arrested.
The police.
Yeah. Police in Swedish or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I do understand that if you have to go, you have to go. Maybe he should have gone to a more private area where he could have peed in the cup. I do understand that. But first of all, this picture of Elton John holding the bottle with piss in it is taking me out. I love it. It is hilarious. They've clearly photoshopped the bottle into Elton John's hand. So that part is really, just the thought of it is making me laugh. So I do understand that maybe Elton had to go, and I want to give him a little bit of grace because he is Elton John. He is an icon, and I understand because I was just in New Jersey for the 4th that weekend, and I had to go, and we pulled over to the side. Like you said, I went to the back of the gas station because they did not have the key to the bathroom, and I was aghast, but I didn't pull out my dick and pee in the middle of the gas station. That would have been apropos. So I did go back to behind the gas station, but I'm sure the people could still see me, but I did not care. When you have to go at the end of the day, you got to pee.
Okay, final word there. Let us know how you weigh in on that. Let's move on, because we said we were going to stay in too long on these hot topics.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little bit related to Elton John is Devil Wears Prada. Why do I say that? Because he is writing the music for the upcoming Devil Wears Prada musical starring none other than Vanessa Williams as Miranda Priestley, which my sister and I just bought tickets to for my
Ooh,
birthday in January. I'm so excited. Little known fact, like we are like diehard Vanessa fans, and she's
love
done.
her.
I've seen her in theater before, and she kills it, and made for this role. But that's the link over from Elton. However, gays weren't necessarily feeling another Devil Wears Prada, and I'm talking about the original because apparently there's rumblings and talks about a sequel. That's right, you heard me right. A dream from the 2006 film, a sequel may be in the works that would include Meryl Streep back as Miranda, of course, and Emily Blunt as her former assistant are reportedly set to return. No word yet, and it doesn't even seem like Anne Hathaway may be included. If you remember in the film Kodi, she basically moved on and said fashion essentially wasn't my gig and moved on. And Anne Hathaway has also been in the media before where she said, yeah, I think I couldn't see at least my character being in a sequel because it ended kind of perfectly. But
Yeah,
wouldn't now Emily Blunt is such a huge star. I mean, I loved her
love
then,
her.
but those two against each other. Well, why are gays a little bit not so excited about the potential storyline they're hearing? Essentially, it would come in more modern times, not 2006, where the magazine times have moved on a little bit, right? Who's really, I mean, yes, there are magazines still out there, but it's moved on, and her magazine is failing, and digital obviously is
Yeah.
becoming the newer thing. I can imagine a thing where Emily Blunt's character is thriving on a digital platform and she's going to take on a descending Miranda and a failing magazine, and they're going to go toe to toe, right? Well, the
Mm-hmm.
gays, a lot of the gays did not want to see Miranda at a low where she would be not as fierce as they thought she was. And I thought, what are you talking about? Every film has to have a conflict. There is no movie, there is no book, there is no story throughout history without a conflict. We don't just open the pages and there's diva and she's spouting out diva lines and blah blah and do this and do that without a conflict. You have to have it. And she had a conflict in the original movie.
Yeah.
Her marriage was failing. She had to deal with this new person that was coming into her life that was working for her. There was a Spanish magazine that was going to take her role over. So the idea that she didn't have conflict in the original and that she was just diva and all we like is diva is so ridiculous. Gays, get over yourself. Know a real story. A real story is built on an arc, and there has to be conflict. Have you never read? Sorry, that's me just reading the gays that are against this potential film.
Get
And
them.
I just think in the meantime, get on board with Devil Wears Prada the musical, because let's just give that its time, which hasn't even opened in London yet. But I'm here for this. Are you here for it? And do you see at all what the gays are complaining about as usual? We did say it is Gay Wrath Month, and
It
apparently it's
is.
true.
Grr, gay wrath. No, I totally agree with you. I think that without conflict, there is no story. And what are we just telling? A peaceful nighttime bed story to kids? No, we need to see someone overcoming adversity in order to really have that full cathartic moment. So I think the gays need to relax because as long as Mama Meryl is in the picture, we are going to get fed. Okay, she is the
Against
ultimate.
Emily.
Right? It's going to be fantastic. And Amanda Priestley, she might be down for a second, but she's not going to be down for long. And that means that she's going to have her comeuppance. She's going to slay all the girls, and she's going to do what she's got to do. At the end of the day, she's going to be superior. So I'm here for it. I want to see it. I need to have this in my video box right now. I don't know what a video box is, but I want it there.
Read the comments while I move on to our next hot topic.
Mac Dad says, it needs Anne Hathaway. Too many people hating on Anne. I said, I love Anne. And James Hart said, I was just about to type that, Steve, what you had said earlier about having conflict and things of that nature. And Steve should write a script. I think that is a fabulous idea, James. Thank you very much.
I'll
I'll
start with the
collaborate.
book.
I
I'll
just
start
want
with the book.
20%, honey.
I've had ideas of books, and yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
Do it. And then we can adapt it to a screenplay.
Speaking of books, stay tuned for next Tuesday's episode 582 when our very good, the good doctor that we love on this show, Dr. Goldstein, who talks so much about our butt health, has a brand new book called Butt Seriously. Do you not love this
Ooh,
title? This
I
book
love it.
is like a manual that we all need. It's out now, and I'm doing a sit down with him tomorrow that will be out next Tuesday, episode 582. It is a summer read, but it is also a manual that you definitely, I've learned so much. And Tops, you need to read it too. Seriously, I mean, you learn so much. You learn so much about your anatomy too, about going to the bathroom and everything else. It's really good. So, but seriously, stay tuned. Dr. Goldstein next Tuesday, episode 582. And while we're promoting things, you can grab a tier on our Patreon page, and it's the final week of our special offer that when you grab a tier, you get special perks, and you'll be entered to watch our upcoming live stream where Kodi and I will be hosting it, sharing personal stories that you haven't heard before. But also, more importantly, Kodi will be performing brand new music, including his brand new single, Talk About It, which is really doing so well. And yeah, I'm excited for you and that. And Kodi, little tidbit, we were watching that interview that you had shared with me with Vanessa on Good Morning America, promoting Devil Wears Prada. And she said she got tired at 60 of just talking about, like, waiting for her next album to be produced because music had changed in the last several years from her last album. And she said, I'm tired of waiting around. I just need to proactively do it on my own. And I couldn't help but think of you also producing your own music. And if it's good enough for Vanessa, honey. So
That's right. She's a beauty
exactly.
queen. So yeah, she's a queen in general. I love Vanessa Williams, and I really want to go with you on your birthday. We're going to make it work out.
Okay, sure. I love it. Yes, I would love that. Talking about somebody else that we've talked a lot about on the show that I think we all agree that we like, Troye Sivan shared a big secret. He's currently on tour right now. It's kind of a hot ticket, I think, because it's Troye and Charlie XCX. And I heard Charlie XCX on BBC Radio 1 live, and she was amazing. I don't know about her new album, but she must have just been doing all her hits. And I think the two of them are going to have an amazing show. He has been doing a lot of interviews to promote this show, and he says his big secret to confidence after being body shamed was, I'm sexy because I feel sexy. And he said, I think I'm sexy because I feel sexy, explaining that it comes from within. And the feeling, as he explained, was something he worked on after years of being subjected to the internet and critiques about his lack of sex appeal and his body. He really said that he learned it's a state of mind, and you have to really just own it to yourself to feel sexy. And I think that is a really amazing thing. I mean, what did you think when he said this, Kodi?
Yeah, I'm so happy that Troye has embraced his sexiness. It's so important to your confidence and your self-worth. I've definitely struggled with something like this in my own life. And the more that I've come to realize that the sexiness comes from within me and that it's all about how I perceive myself, the better off my life has been. Like I said, I've struggled with this, and I think that previously I didn't feel or own my own sexiness. But the more I told myself that I was sexy, and the more I could look at in the mirror and say, that is a beautiful human being in general, the better off my life has been. So I'm happy that Troye is seeing his sexiness and understanding that if you don't see your sexiness, then other people won't see it as well. And there's somebody out there that's always going to find you beautiful. Then, he's preaching the gospel right there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And I think it has to do with confidence that he's really, he's been making music for a while. He's very young, but it might seem like an overnight success. But honestly, I think he's been doing this for a really long time.
Mhm.
And he was Grammy nominated for Rush, which is huge, alongside none other than Kylie Minogue. And so his videos really show him owning his sexuality, and I think for those that look at sexuality in a certain way, that it has to be, you have to be this one look, he's showing it in a different light. And I think it's refreshing and it's youthful and it's
Yep.
now. And I think when he speaks about this, that he's been trolled or he's had to come to terms with finding his own, all of that comes with yourself. You could be, have ripped abs and all this stuff. We're going to talk about some of this stuff in an upcoming topic. But unless you find your sexiness within you, you're never going to emanate that, because you're always going to be fighting that. And it doesn't mean that you can't have doubting moments, like we all do every
We all do.
day, but it's a general work on yourself that you feel this, and you have to find that within yourself. And so I love that Troye is definitely doing that. Another artist that we love to talk about, that's one of my favorites, is Omar Apollo. And Omar Apollo actually has a brand new album out, and
Mm.
he's been doing a lot of interviews as well. He was in this funny interview, Kodi, where he says, "You want to know the ugly truth?" Well, Omar Apollo sat down with French media
Sure.
outlet Conbini to talk all things love and romance. But at a certain point, it sparked up a lively conversation on when asked whether or not physical appearance of a partner mattered. Well, he admitted he's had ugly boyfriends, an experience which he calls amazing. He continued to say, "I feel like what's more important is the soul, the person I feel I like physically can be intimidating. So I try to remove it because I'm not as intimidated." I mean, do you think that this was like a media moment where he was kind of giving the interviewer just a little bit of a, I don't know, for show, provocative comment? Like,
A
I've had,
soundbite.
quote, "I've had ugly boyfriends." It's like, the word ugly, I think, rubbed me. In our meeting, we were going back and forth, and you were saying, "Oh, I don't know. I think I've had ugly." And it's like, and I meant, I'm all Kodi ugly, because uglies are really, there's certain words in the vocabulary that rub me the wrong way. Ugly is not good at all.
I agree.
I use ugly for a lot of things for certain people. I don't know that no one I've ever dated was ugly at
Mhm.
all. I mean, at all. I mean, some were way better looking maybe than others, but
Yeah.
everything is all in the eye of the beholder. But no one's ever been ugly. And so, do you think he was being honest with this, or am I just so focused on this that his larger point was he really goes for the soul?
Yeah. I think that that's what he meant. I do maybe there was a touch of, "Let me give this soundbite, maybe see if I can appeal to the larger masses by thinking by having them think that they have a chance with me even if they're not really that attractive." I think there's a little bit of that in there as well. But I do think that at the base of it, he wants somebody that has a good soul. So I think that part is definitely true. But I agree with you. Maybe this is for all for show, and there's a part of it that is media produced. Me personally, I have dated somebody that I did not find that attractive. And it was at a point in my life where I was like, let me just give, I was in my 20s. So I was very innocent and yeah, I was easily swayed. So I think that for me, it was more about, let me see if I can give people that I don't really find that attractive a chance, because I think I should give everybody a chance. And I want to see their soul and see if they're a good person. But let me tell you, honey, boys that you do not find that attractive, they will still cheat on you. They will still run around on you. They will still do all the things that make you cry. And I said to myself in that moment, when I thought that I was giving everybody a chance, that I should probably date somebody that I did find attractive. So when they did mess up, at least I could say they're pretty.
Wow. Really insightful. And I think you're right. I think he really is. I think we're all, you've all met people that you're in lust after and you really wanted it to work and it didn't work with somebody that you were just, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful and sexy and hot. But I think I have to be attracted to somebody, but
Yeah.
then I've been attracted to a lot of people where it didn't go anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
or I was also, they ultimately weren't the right person at all for either of us. And I've said before, I am in a relationship right now, yay. And I'm super attracted to him.
Uh-huh.
You laugh, but I
No, no, no.
mean,
I laugh because I love you being in love. That's the only reason I'm laughing. I think it's so
I
cute and
am, and
adorable.
it's great. And for somebody that have been single forever, so I just think,
It makes me smile.
yeah. And it was just quick sidebar on that. I don't know if I told it on the other show, but one of my longstanding BFFs from San Francisco said, he calls me Stevie. Stevie, instead of Stevie, I remember you said before, when I asked you, are you looking, what about a relationship? And he's like, I don't know now. Maybe when I'm in my 50s is when I'll settle down. And here I am in my 50s. And and I don't remember saying that at all, but he remembered and told me. And I thought that was really sweet and special. And
Wow. Ooh,
yeah,
can you give me
being
the winning
thrown.
lottery numbers, boo? Okay. Because you called that one.
James watching us live says, I've been called the ugly boyfriend. He could have said it a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think sorry, James, that occurred, because I still go back to ugly is not a good word,
Yeah.
and should never be associated with anything in your life. Like, really ugly. I mean, there's ugly things that are happening in this world. We could go back to last week's story with, now find Austin Wolf ugly because of
Yeah.
what he did and
Hmm.
was accused of, and we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
So I do like to say I date guys that aren't conventionally attractive, but I find them attractive. So that is a nice distinguisher that I like to have, because you could not be conventionally attractive, but I could still think you're fucking sexy as hell because
Oh yeah.
of one thing or another.
Absolutely. And then to round out our hot topics that have just kind of making the way is this thing called Hot Brat Summer. Brat Summer. Have you heard of this, Kodi?
I've heard of Charlie XCX and the whole brat movement that she has going on with her new album. I listened to 2 songs before we came on the show because I hadn't listened to the album at all, and I think it's a banger. This album is, honestly.
Yeah, well, I said we were just talking about her, and I said I listened to her on BBC Radio, and her concert was amazing. She's a writer too, and has
Yeah.
a lot of times we think these people come along like overnight. She's has a million albums. She's written for many artists that we all know of, and so she knows what she's doing. She created this Brat Summer that one straight guy was asking, can we have a Brat Summer too? And I think the consensus was no. He said, I'm a white guy, mid-20s. I'm working at a GameStop and don't really have much of a social life, the person wrote. How
Uh-huh.
can I still have a Brat Summer? I keep seeing it everywhere, but I'm not sure entirely what it means. So I guess, Kodi, if we were to say, what does Brat Summer mean? It's kind of just living bratty summer and doing whatever the fuck you really want to do, whether it's singing and dancing loudly to loud music in your apartment, if it's parading in a down the runway on the street, if it
Ooh,
is
let's go.
painting your nails neon green, it is make your drinks strong. It's kind of, but it also, according to this one person, is standing up to homophobia, transphobia, racism, and misogyny. So I don't know. I think it's a vibe more than anything else.
Yeah.
Then I think she created, it's just, bratty, girls gone wild a little bit, if you will, is probably the closest thing that I could think if I was to describe Brat Summer. Are you having a Brat Summer, Kodi?
I'm trying, girl. I'm out here trying to live my best life in these streets. I'm back to New York, and I think that this is a great movement. But I will say it's for the girls and for the gays. That's what Charlie meant it for us. So we're going to listen to Mother because her album sounds very good from the 2 songs that I have heard. The
Nice.
straight guys, they can go out and they can have a nice Bruce Springsteen or Chris Stapleton summer. They're allies, so I'm here for that. So, but leave Charlie for us, boo, because the Brat Summer is here, and I'm getting on board the train. I don't know. I'm waiting at the station
Yeah, I'm
stop.
trying to think my Brat Summer, what that would look like. I think the closest thing that I've got is like a little bit later, I'll go see my boy at our closest New York Eagle for Jockstrap. And I've got these
Ooh.
shorts earlier this year that they're jean shorts in the front, cut off, but in the back, it's my ass is exposed for
Oh,
Jockstrap
I know how
night.
those go.
But how I wear them is I have this gray t-shirt that goes and covers my bum, and but seriously, I'm talking about this, and I walk from my apartment, which is like maybe 8 blocks,
Yeah.
storming down to Jockstrap night with, if I lifted it up, you could see my bum. That's kind of my
Yeah.
Brat Summer rebellion moment that I do,
And
and
I
storming
live.
down. Yeah, so that's kind of my thing.
Charlie would be proud,
Okay.
boo. So I'm
I
happy
think
for
so. Maybe I
I
should like
think
kind
so
of film
too.
myself and be like, "Is this my brat moment, Charlie?" and see what she says.
I
I mean,
think
it's
she would
kind
get
of
her a
like
carrot immediately.
I love it. Okay, we are done with the gay news. Let's get into a hot topic. And this one recently came, it's a little bit I don't know. Well, we'll let you decide. A 21-year-old opened up about his struggles with gay dating standards and found he's not alone. What am I talking about? Well, we all scroll through and are looking to date, and it can seem daunting, as we've talked a lot about on this show. If you're just scrolling through Instagram, well, on Sunday, Josh, quote unquote, Josh, expressed disappointment with his perception of the superficial gay dating scene. Quote, "I honestly hate gay dating standards so much. I don't have a 6-pack, a jawline. I don't go clubbing. I don't listen to newer artists. I don't have a skincare routine." Oh, Josh, we got to change that.
Uh-oh,
"I
Josh.
don't travel because I'm broke. I eat junk food. I'm a nerd. I like comics and video games." And when you know it, Kodi, that a lot of straight women actually came to his defense and were like, "Oh my gosh, you're lovely," and hang in there. But a recent research stats came out that said, according to Pew Research, 47% of gay, lesbian, or bi adults say they're single, compared to 29% of straight adults. And
Hello.
those numbers aren't a reflection of anything. I mean, it's, I don't know, Kodi. When you hear this, do you think he's just looking in the wrong places because we were talking about this in our meeting, and one of the things that we brought up was you and I didn't grow up in a social media era like
Yeah.
this person did. We didn't grow up scrolling through content of idealized perfect situations. I mean, I post like only the good stuff when I'm out and
Right.
about and stuff like that. And I'm glad I didn't grow up in this because I had real life experiences. But if you only had that, if this was only your experience, it could seem like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to live up to these standards?
Oh yeah, I definitely see that. I definitely look on Instagram and I see all of these perfect bodies. I see all of these perfect couplings and relationships out there. And I think that why can't I have that? Why am I still single? Even though I may have taken a lover. But,
Really?
oh, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But I do understand where he's coming from because I find that I associate myself with a lot of the things that he associates himself with. I I do go clubbing all the time and I might have a 6-pack, but I don't listen to newer artists. You talk to me all the time. You're like, you need to listen to more new artists. You need to listen to BBC One radio. But I like the old school stuff. So that's just a personal
Well,
preference.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
tell you that, and I think for you as a writer, producer, you probably shouldn't because you don't want your music to be influenced, and so many of, like, the greats that I like don't listen to a lot of it because they don't wanna be their music to and be influenced by, like, what's the hot thing right now.
Well, I think there's value in it because I do understand that people are there is a vibe that's going on in the moment that I think that I could get a lot of perspective from. So I do understand what you're saying, but yeah, I think there's validity in both sides of the story. So, but I do think that like I'm with him on the comic book thing, and as far as there's so many parallels that for me and him. So I understand that this is something that people struggle a lot with, and I understand that people can get bogged down with everything on Instagram. So I understand him and I feel him, but I just think he needs to find his tribe and understand that there is somebody out there for him at the end of the day. And as long as he puts himself out there and he is a person that people want to get to know, and he is being welcoming, then I think that he can really find somebody for him out there in this world.
I agree, and I think there's really good examples. I know a lot of people I follow that I know here or just in general have all kinds of things that they like and they post on social media that aren't square jawed and all about clubbing. They're one of them. I'm thinking he is calls part of his title is geek in there, and he's all about superheroes. He goes to Comic-Con every year,
What's his
and
number?
I'll let you know. Yeah, I will because I love him. He's great, and yeah, you should actually, and you'd find him cute. So yeah, I just think that needs to hang in there a little bit more and venture out a little bit too, because there's a lot of free events and things you can do, and you can find like-minded people, and you just need to search a little bit more for a lot of those, and maybe he could find it where he's at. If he is into comic books, there's you and he cannot be the only two gays that are
We're
into
not.
it. I would look for those groups in I think he said he was in London, and actually join an online group or a meetup or exchange, and I bet he would find others within his tribe. And like I think you said earlier, find your tribe. And that's really what you want to do. Whether it's start with friends too. I've talked about on this show too before where I went to speed dating here, and while I got a couple dates out of it that ultimately amounted to nothing but a date, and that's fine, I ultimately got a friend out of it.
Yeah,
And that friend is, him, and I adore him.
is wonderful.
And it's a precious moment that I got out of that. And he's near and dear to me. So, sometimes go, and maybe the friend will introduce you to other people that
You
then you'll
never know.
find your love. So he's 21. I'm not too worried about him. But yes, if we were
He still
offering
has time.
advice, yeah, exactly. Does somebody have something to say before I move on?
Mm. Bryce says yes to station stop. We all need a skincare routine because it is caring for our body. Can I tell you, I only use lotion on my face. I don't have a
Oh,
skincare routine.
honey.
I know.
We did a
I
whole
said that
thing with
earlier.
Jeremy, our co-host,
I
and we
know.
both said products that are not expensive. I have one I could share with you here that's not expensive at all, but it's made for the face.
Okay. All right.
So,
I'm willing to expand my. I did say something that I used to use, but now I'm just using lotion. I don't know why. I need to up my game definitely.
got it. Let's do a little bit of health news. Well, we always love to. Recently, I believe it was June 27th, the Biden health officials urged it was actually National HIV Testing Day. And while that is a big messaging and we should always be getting tested, in fact, I'm due for mine to get re-upped on my Truvada. Biden health officials were also urging people while you're at it on HIV testing day or in general, not on that day, to also get tested for syphilis and hepatitis C because those happen to be on the rise. And this is really important to me because if they're seeing these numbers on the rise, Kodi, then I definitely want to get tested for these. And
Mhm.
Hep C isn't something that I always get tested for. Do you?
I feel like I've asked my doctor before if they test for the gamut. When I go, I want everything done. I talk to my doctor. I say I need to test for every single thing, and I feel like I've asked him before if he tests for Hep C and syphilis, because syphilis is super important right now because it is definitely on the rise. And he said yes. So next time I go in, I'm going to ask him again just to be sure, because you can never be too safe as far as these things are concerned.
Yeah, they said that, well, getting tested for HIV, get tested for Hep C, which can be cured with medication, and syphilis, which can be cured with antibiotics. And they also explain the concept of syndemic, and that refers to synergistic interactions between multiple health treatments exacerbated by social circumstances, contributing to an excess disease burden. And apparently, they're seeing a clustering of HIV, hepatitis C, and syphilis, and why it's crucial to test for all three simultaneously. And the last
Mm.
one, Hep C, I didn't really know, and that's not one, but like you, I will next week when I go get tested for that. And while we're at it, I am, like I said, interviewing Dr. Goldstein for his new book, But Seriously, which I think everybody should really be getting. Maybe we could do a giveaway. I'll ask him for a few copies.
Ooh.
But one of the things he says, if you're not, we talked about it on the show before, but if you're not getting swabbed also anally and in your throat for chlamydia, that you need to be. And they're very easy to do. And my doctor now knows when he sees me that he says, "Are we doing that?" I'm like, "Yep, let's do those too," because it really can. You normally pee in a cup, but that one doesn't show up necessarily in your throat or anally as well. And people can be walking around with these for passing them on, and that's what we don't want to happen. But the thing
Yep.
that I didn't know that was news to me was Hep C. I will be talking to my doctor next week when I get tested for all of these, and maybe layer that one in as well.
Cool. That's amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
have an appointment in like 15 days. So yeah, I'll be doing the
awesome.
same.
Okay, we're on a countdown. I get it.
I
Love it.
know, right?
Let's give some advice. We love to give advice on the show. And we are here for you. We'll give our handles at the end of this show where you could reach out to either one of us asking us for sex or relationship advice, or go to our website, TAGSPodcast.com, where you could reach us via that. We love giving solicited or unsolicited advice to you. And this one comes from Reddit, where they ask the question, how long before I say I love you? And for those of you in a relationship, how long did it take for one of you to say this? Let me read a couple things that people wrote back to him. They wrote, I picked my husband up in the back room of a leather bar on the first
Ooh.
Sunday in July. Could we just end with that?
I know, right? We're done. Question answered.
He said, I love you in the last week of September the same year, now 30 years ago. Okay, I love that. Somebody else has said, I waited about a month after I felt it was several months into dating. I like that. I said it when we celebrated our first month anniversary, and it was
Oh,
great.
wow.
And on that very day, he gave me our promise ring. Wow, okay. There's a lot of, I think what these stories will tell you that there's no one time frame. I mentioned that I met my current boyfriend last summer, and we were so slow about it, going on hikes and just hanging out, and
Hmm.
really took our time with all of this. It was last summer, and it really wasn't until this year, I think earlier this year, maybe the spring, and we went away to P Town and by ourselves, and we had a really lovely time. And I thought, well, after that trip, if it goes well, I'm going to say it to him. And I knew I was going away after that fact for
Hmm.
a while. So I thought I need to get this in, but I meant it. And thank goodness it was reciprocated.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it was a good, like, I don't know, half a year, over a year before we got to that point. And
You
then
could have had a baby.
we've been saying it ever since, but not quite a year, but almost a year. That was my story. Kodi, what are your thoughts on when is the appropriate time to say I love you?
So my rule is whenever you feel it, right? So my last relationship, I felt it probably on the very first night, but then I held on to it for about a month. So I think after a month, I started to say it, but he wouldn't say it back, which I think that is because he needed a little bit more time in order to gauge his level of whether he loved me or not. So I think that that's okay for him. So whenever you feel it, I feel like you should be able to say it and express yourself. Give yourself time to make sure that it's real, and then in that case, then you should just express your feelings. My friend who I phoned a friend, and they said that they only say it after the other person has said it, which I think is legitimate because you never know what people are out here doing. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think it takes a minute to, as we've been talking, through this show, to even find somebody. So, how many times has he been in this moment, right, where he, as we're noticing, it takes a lot to get, unless he's a serial dater,
yeah,
it's to find yourself in a situation where that's even an option, I think, is a whole thing. And yeah, I mean, I think I definitely was the first one to say it
hmm
in my current situation, but it was reciprocated back. And I kind of knew just the way things were going, the way we were, it wasn't overnight, it was months and months and months. And it was post a long weekend. We didn't kill each other on that getaway trip that we took with each other. In fact,
hmm
it was actually really lovely and amazing. And so yeah, I just moved forward with the feelings that I was feeling. Didn't
yeah,
change a whole lot in terms, other than we really love each other and we want to be together. So
yeah.
yeah, that's it.
I
Yeah.
love it. I think being vulnerable is the basis of a relationship. So I think that as soon as you feel it, put yourself out there and hopefully everything will work out. But if it doesn't, then that's a learning experience for the future.
Absolutely. And Bryce watching us says, my ex would never say, I love you back. Thousands of dollars later, trying to earn his love, it didn't work out. Oh, no.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, babe.
Right. Yeah. You can't. Sorry, Bryce, because I think you can't force love. It's a two-way street. And money never is the answer, I think. Right. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's
I
not.
know.
And so, yeah. But
Sorry, baby.
yeah. Okay. Lastly, it's Thirst Trap, and we love this. It's by Straight Up Gay Porn, and right now, I believe it's a recap. So Straight Up Gay Porn does their recap of who took the best porn shot of the week. This week, it's 13 gay porn stars, and it's pretty decent grouping of guys. Go to tagspodcast.com if you're listening to this, reference episode 581. It's our job on an audio podcast to vividly describe which one took our fancy and why on an audio podcast, and we'll do our best. I'll start right now. I think mine goes to a threesome of a batch known by, was that your pick?
No, 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 no,
Okay,
no.
good.
I think it's in the chat though.
Okay, so Mario Galeno,
Yeah.
Evan Canalu, and Leandro Harry Dom XL are in this perfect pose where two of them are these pillars. One of them on the right has super hairy and a hard on and just a great beard, and the other pillar is another guy with like a 5 o'clock shadow, great abs, a beautiful dick, I think. Great, they all have
Oh
great
yeah.
bodies. And in the middle, I believe, is the one known as Leandro, or no, excuse me, Evan Canalou, and he's kneeling down, also hard, but in between these two dicks. And this is a threesome I would want to watch. I just think
Mm,
they're all they
or
have
being.
a connection, and it looks like I want to see what's next. And
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of delicious, and I am all here for it. Which one did you pick and why?
Well, my boo King Marcellus is doing it in this picture, but I picked him before, so I'm gonna go for somebody new. My winner this week is Andres Milan, and that's also in the chat. And it looks like he's in a baby pool, but we're gonna go with jacuzzi for this because just for my mind, okay? He's skinny dipping, which is one of my favorite pastimes. And he's got this cute ass that's above the water. It's on full display, and his handsome face is right in front of the center of the camera. And his hair is dark and wet, and he's got this full beard, and he is absolutely stunning. So he's going to be my
Well,
pick
you
for this
did
week.
well because your King Marcellus, your original pick, is number
Oh,
one currently,
okay. See,
and
thank you, King.
Andre Milan, who's your current pick, yes,
Yes.
is number three. So
Oh, I'm
you apparently
popular.
are with the people. Mine's all the way down. Mine's not at the bottom, but mind you, these are the top picks. So
Yes,
really,
they're
all of
gorgeous.
these are. If you do go to this site, vote because this keeps this going, and it's a simple click that vote. And what are people saying? Doug says Andre Milan as well. So does Bryce. For him, James says, "Oh, the one I said." Okay,
Yeah,
James. James, we're always in sync. I love
I
that. Yeah.
know you guys. That's
Come
awesome.
on now. Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. We want to thank our virtual audience because without you, this isn't as much fun. So thank you for weighing in. We really appreciate it. This show, of course, gets repackaged wherever you get your podcast, episode 581. Go to tagspodcast.com as well. Don't forget, grab a tier on our Patreon page and get extra special perks. There's some really good ones right now. You don't want to miss it out. Plus, if you do it this week, you'll be entered to get our upcoming live stream with Kodi and myself. He'll be singing new music, including his brand new single, Talk About It, inspired by this show. Go to patreon.com/tags podcast. Grab a tier. We really appreciate it. You can follow my co-host. He's a life coach. Follow him at KMD Coaching on Instagram or his personal account at Mr. Maurice. Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Or go to my Twitter account or X at Tags Podcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans or OnlyFans and new content coming out next week. And from there on afterwards, really fun doing that as well. And thank you. And in the meantime, continue having hot, gay
Gay
sex.
sex.
Lovely.
Yes.
Oh, I think we're still live. Hello, hello.